It's my pleasure to welcome Alan Bergo to the Wild Kitchen. Alan is a chef and author, and for many people, he's best known as a forager chef. He's spent years cooking professionally and studying wild food, and has introduced people all over the world to foraging and cooking in a more connected, seasonal way. Alan, thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I have to say, part of the reason why I do this podcast is because I like talking with interesting, passionate people. And one of the things that I like hitting me over the head when I look at your content, your video content and stuff like that, and your book and your website is that, like, dude, you are a passionate guy. You are, like, in the best possible way, like, so passionate about foraging and cooking. And I want to use the term quirky, like, in the best possible way.
Nerd.
Like,
Nerd
like
king.
I feel like I want to have a geek out conversation with this guy about, like, wild plants and food. And I was talking to Hank Shaw, and he was singing your praises too. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I need to chat with this guy. So thank you very much. I'm excited to talk to you about what you're up to and all sorts of fun food stuff.
Yeah, it's great. I didn't know you talked to Hank. Hank is a close friend of mine and actually lived like 5 minutes away. I was just texting with him last night. It's
Really?
insane to have, like, yeah, two of my mentors. Like Hank's like my mentor for, like, kind of like the meat world, and then I have Sam Thayer, and both of them live. Sam Thayer lives 2 hours away. Hank lives like 10 minutes away now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I noticed in your work you talking about how you got into, you went through the route of the restaurant world, and it kind of beat the shit out of you. And so you didn't seem to go out with the aim of being a forager and doing what you're doing now, but you just kind of followed your curiosity and passion, and it led you to the point that you're at now. But, was there a turning point for you where it was like, no, I'm not going back to working a line. This is what I'm doing now.
Absolutely. It was after the last restaurant that I ran closed. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just knew that, like, closing a restaurant is one of the worst things ever. The restaurant, it was Lucia's. It had been around for like 30 years, one of the most venerated places in the Twin Cities, like one of the standard bearers of farm to table, whole animal cooking. And when it ended, like, staff's peeling off, I was showing up at like 4 a.m. I was baking bread, doing prep, doing the ordering, running lunch and dinner service. Customers were taking paintings off the walls. The staff's peeling off. It was terrible. I lost like 15 pounds, dropped a burr mixer on my toe and broke it. My right arm didn't work. I was just a broken person after that. And then 2 years before, a year before, I had closed a restaurant that I'd run for 2 years and did basically the same thing. And I was like, this is horrible. And I mean, all like working for like 55 grand a year. Like, I was like, I can get an apartment now. It was ludicrous. And nothing had really like killed my joy as far as food goes before. I kind of always thought that I would be a chef. I didn't always think that. I actually tried to get out of the industry most of the years when I was cooking on the line. I was trying to get out. I knew that my curiosity and my passion for ingredients, I knew there was something there. I didn't know what I could do with it. So I was trying to get a job in sales most of the time because you can't make money. Like, I had to give up my apartment and live in basements at the greatest restaurant that I worked at, the most impactful place. I was living in friends' basements, going from basement to basement when I was there, and I had to give up my apartment to be able to afford to take the pay cut to work there. But everything eventually worked out, but I just couldn't see how the pieces were going to fall into place.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember working in restaurants, working at I say working, but really it wasn't working. I was working there for free for 7 months, got a job, and I was like so happy. And like, it's slave labor, right? But when I was finally at the point where I was making money as a chef, I had kids, and I sat down and I actually calculated out how much I made versus how much it cost me to get to work. Like, not even cost of living, nothing. This is what I'm paying for parking, for vehicle insurance, like getting to work. I was a couple $100 ahead. I'm like, this something's wrong. Like the math is not mathing here. This doesn't make sense. And I just like the passion. It's hard to sustain that passion for cooking in that environment when you can't feed yourself and you can't live. So it's tough. But you also had some medical issue. Like you got uh, Lyme disease, didn't you?
Yeah, I got it bad. I got the Bell's palsy and all of that. The bigger thing is that, Lyme is like a neurological thing, and it interacted and exacerbated a pre-existing condition I had that
Uh,
made it look way, 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 way worse.
yeah.
I had cluster headaches, and I would get them maybe like 1 month out of the year. I couldn't drink alcohol. I would have these insane headaches that kind of come with the moon and the tides. It's bizarre. And when I got Lyme, instead of having them 1 month out of the year, I had debilitating attacks three, four, five, 6 times a day, every day. Not 1 month out of the year, 365, 24/7. And they would like to come they'd start at about 7 p.m. at night. So when I'm managing tickets in the past,
Yeah, yeah. Good timing.
uh, yeah, I eventually I got off gluten, and that did most of the work, along
Mm.
with taking a whole bunch of supplements. But then last year, I'd been in remission for a couple of years. I got COVID, and COVID interacted with it
Oh,
and did the same thing. They had to get a wheelchair to get me off a plane going down to see the people at Hammond's Black Walnuts in Missouri. So I have to be careful about that now. But yeah, I did that, and I'm still here, and now I get to be didn't really see myself as being a Lyme disease advocate, but here we are.
yeah. You have a story in I think it's on your website where you're talking about how you had like earplugs and an oxygen mask and an eye patch while you're working the line like that. That's a level of dedication I don't think many people have for their work.
Oh yeah, the boss called me the pirate or the new salad girl because
Nice.
I had this mental fog was so bad that I was running the busiest station on the line. They had to take me off and put me on pantry. It was humiliating,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. I love that guy, and I talk to him regularly, and I will be having dinner with him and a whole big list of friends once I'm done with the book here.
Nice. Nice. So transition nicely into the book you're working on now. So for anyone that doesn't know, this is the book that you have out now, and it's freaking awesome. It's like I love it. I find it balances that it's not a plant identification book per se, but it uses all sorts like a wide variety of plants that aren't commonly used in wild cooking books, and technique is on like it's amazing, and the recipes are fantastic, but they're not like so fancy and over the top where people are going to get discouraged. There's recipes that keep people will cook in here. So is it next sort of natural progression from that? Like, well, what's the next book about?
Well, when I was writing the first one, I started writing the manuscript when I was on the line at the last year of Lucia's. It took me 3 years to write Flora. I scrapped the first manuscript because I quickly saw if I try to cover everything in my life, like meat, mushrooms, and plants, if I try to cover all these things, the content will be thin and I'm not going to be able to go into detail about stuff, and it just wasn't the way to do it. So I split things up and I said I'm going to do a 3-part series. So that's what I billed it as to the publisher. And Flora is kind of like uh, it's kind of like the plant portion of my life. And then there will be fauna, which is what I'm working on now, and fungi will come later. But flora and fauna are interesting because they are also like a yin and a yang, right? And this book is not, fauna is not a sequel to flora because it works with meat primarily. The focal point is on meat. It is a sibling, and I will hopefully if we'll see what happens in the edit, but I'm trying to make it so the books work like collaboratively. I may call out recipes in fauna that are in flora. I don't know other books that do that, but it's like they work together, plants and meat. I have learned it's hard for me to even start with all the things that I've learned writing this book. I'm writing a book that's supposed to be an instructional book for other people. I end up learning a lot about myself and how I operate on like deeper levels. But one of the things that I learned kind of just in the last month, uh, I was I was getting questions from people. I'm doing recipe testing. I had over 100 recipe testers from Barbados to Finland that have been testing recipes for me. And a lot of other books don't do this. They might do a little bit, but not 100 home cooks testing 3 or 4 recipes a piece, emailing me back individually, or emailing my grandmother or my mom who were coming to help because there was so many emails. Like I had
Wow.
over 500 replies. I was like, and I'm not contractually obligated to do this.
No.
This is just doing due diligence. It's a Hank Shaw thing too. So
I was gonna say
tips of
Hank
the
Shaw
hat
did
to
that.
Hank. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hank does that. Hank told me that I should do that when I started writing Flora, and I did it, and the book was better for it. It is not easy. It is not fun having 100 home cooks pick apart your recipes like they're recipe critics. That I am fine if I do not do that all the time, but it's helpful, and you got to take what the helpful things and take those nuggets and incorporate them where you can. Um, but what I kind of learned, like big picture wise, is that there's basically like 3 areas that support my creative work. And those are botany, plants, mycology, and with meat, I was struggling with this. Is the third part is anatomy.
Mm,
Okay. And kind of the high level takeaway here is that maybe understanding a little bit of science, like Latin names of plants or mushrooms, that can help you identify them, help you understand them. A little bit of extra effort and learning can really improve your cooking, help you understand why you might use something in a specific recipe, or also think outside the box. So, a couple good examples. Uh, you know, with Latin names, I didn't expect to use Latin names of meat in this book, but it is actually exactly what I do. You're not, I know no one is going to be going to a store saying, "Can I have a gluteus maximus?" Right?
yeah. No.
But when I was researching some of the more interesting cuts of beef, I don't cover any common cuts. That you can use any kind of steak you want for a lot of there's a bunch of steak recipes in there. That's open ended, just like flora. I'm not going to call for a specific cut. I will give you examples, but
Mm,
when I was researching some of the cool things, I I wanted to describe some of them, but I'm like, I'm not going to go and describe every cut of steak on a cow because people already know some of these. What do I want to read? Like,
mm,
what's the book I want to read? I want to read the cool stuff. I want to read about the toys, the
mm,
interesting things. I'm not going to cover the basic stuff because most people already know that. And when I'm researching some of these different cuts, some of them were hard to figure out exactly what it was. And I found myself going back to the research tools that I learned from working with mushrooms and plants to get the same information, very similar information uh, from meat. So, for example, you have a deckle steak, right? We have common names and
mm,
scientific names for meat as well as mushrooms and plants. You have the deckle steak. It can also be called the rib cap. Uh, some butchers won't know what that is. The spinalis dorsi is the muscle,
mm.
right? Uh, and like I said, that's just one example. No one's going to be going and asking for steaks by their scientific name. But understanding the muscle that you use in a recipe is it can help you really think outside the box, and it can kind of destroy the box from a creative standpoint in some ways. So take bacon. I love bacon. Homemade bacon is like the food of the gods, and I use it in all kinds of stuff. But I don't just say, "Here's a recipe for pork belly that you can make into bacon." We think about what is the muscle that's used. That's a belly, so it's a fatty cut.
Mhm.
And after showing you a recipe for bacon, there's a big composite image where I show 6 different types of bacon from different animals that you can make that that use a comparable muscle.
Cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have beef bacon. There's jowl bacon, venison and lamb bacon that I make from the breast, not the belly, because it has a big piece of sinew that runs through it. Shoulder bacon. Okay, it's also called buckboard bacon, and then there's multiple different ways that you can fabricate that. Either if it's from a copa eye, or I even take the fat cap uh, and make it from that. So there's a lot of kind of uh, there's a lot of parallels that I didn't expect to find just thinking about the methodology that I use to research plants and mushrooms applied to meat.
The meat you're using, sounds like it's not strictly wild game.
No, no,
It runs
no,
the gamut.
no. Yeah, it's organized by beef and bison, chicken, pork, venison, lamb, and goat. Venison, lamb, and goat are all compressed together because all of these animals, they're interchangeable.
Yeah, it's amazing when you like I hunt, and when you butcher an animal, when it's on your table, how similar so many of these animals look to each other. Like it's yeah, a pig's different from a lamb, but really there's not that much difference. They have four
They're just
legs and
smaller.
yeah, they
And
have
even
yeah,
yeah,
fattier
and
and
even though a pig is not a ruminant,
mm,
another thing that I talk about in the book, one of the things I'm most excited about, like in Flora, there was a long form essay about flavor profiles, like the true definition of flavors is called plant families and the flavors they share. I turned it
mm,
into a keynote speech I gave to 1,000 chefs in Vegas. Like after
cool.
that, it was so much fun to teach chefs about how they can incorporate, like how botany can be useful in understanding flavors.
Yeah.
And with this, one of the parallels, I wanted to have some of these like out of the box thinking, creative essays, like just one or two that can really help people think like I do. And I was working with pork shoulders so much, taking them apart in all kinds of different ways. And I dream about things when I'm working with them intensely. And I had a dream about a pork shoulder. And I dreamt that I was cutting it up, but I was not cutting it up in a regular way. And I was cutting it into, like I talked about shoulder bacon before. I was
Yeah.
taking the fat cap and just, I was thinking about it from an instinctual perspective. Like, what do I think? What could I do with this? If I don't follow American butchery techniques,
Like
I borrow a
zoom
lot from
through the bone.
Spanish.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. I borrow a lot from Spanish butchery techniques,
Mm,
but I cut this pork shoulder up into a bunch of different ways. And then getting back to the anatomical perspective, I started thinking I was eating a copa steak and I was like, man, this is the same muscle on a cow that a chuck eye steak comes from, which is the
mm,
continuation of the muscle from a ribeye. And there's a couple steaks you can get that are the same ribeye muscles from a shoulder.
yeah.
Like like the box that American Butchery puts things in doesn't really take that into account. So the next thing I do is now I'm on the phone with a butcher and I'm asking him, hey, what would happen if we took a pork shoulder and we cut it up like a cow? And we
Ah,
keep going down the rabbit hole.
yeah.
And lo and behold, you can cut most of the cuts, like steak shoulder cuts from a beef chuck. Most of these can be taken from a pig too, and they're all interesting and unique with their own little differences. There's a Terrace Major. It's small. It's one of my favorite cuts from a beef chuck,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it's just a little bit smaller.
where's that?
Oh, the teres major.
Yeah.
It's in the shoulder.
Okay.
Another probably a better example is a Denver steak.
Yep.
So a
Okay.
Denver steak is like the whole big muscle, and you can cut a bunch of steaks from it. On a pig, it is absolutely worth cutting. Some of these other ones are more they're more novelties, but still if you were to go to a restaurant and try to order that, first, no one's doing that. And butchers aren't even going to know what it is. So you can't even buy it. But you can take, I did a yield test on a pork shoulder. So instead of just like taking it and putting it into a smoker, I cut it into all kinds of different things. And I show you how you can cut 11 different individual things, including grind and sausage, roasts and steaks and bacon from a pork shoulder.
Wow. And this is what you're exploring in the new book?
Yes.
Very cool. Yeah, I
That's one of many things besides taking over 10,000 images and doing all my own instructional images that I'm also making into composite images with black backgrounds just so we have another option so I
Oh,
can
man.
include, 15 images instead of 6.
Yeah, I think that's such a cool like, you just don't see that. People being empowered to recognize look at a piece of meat and not know where it's from, but looking at the grain of it or, the appearance of the meat itself and being able to make an educated decision on the best way to cook it or how to, take that next step and how they're gonna prepare this meat. Um, people rely on, well, the sticker said it's a New York steak, or it's a blade, or whatever it is. So few people have that confidence to be able to look at a piece of meat and just know what to do with it. So that's it sounds exciting.
Yeah, or like the top sirloin in a cow. You
Yeah.
cook this exactly the same way as goat, lamb, venison, or pork. So
Yeah.
at Heartland, we had a daily changing tasting menu using only ingredients from within 200 miles of Minnesota, and I did the meat tasting menu and a host of other things. I think there's like 14 items on my menu when we opened that restaurant. It was insane. Uh, if I would run out, we did roasts a lot because we only
Yeah.
got whole animals. If I had goat would be, they're smaller.
Yeah.
And let's say I ran out, we would simply take a beef roast or a bison roast and plug it in with the same preparation. We just looked at it. What is the muscle that we're using? And we just plug and play interchangeably. I mean, sometimes you're not going to do that with everything if you have like a flavor profile of a dish that's specifically geared for lamb. But generally speaking, you can just plug and play any of those similar muscles from different animals into a recipe for one.
So how do you navigate a restaurant like that in Minnesota in the wintertime?
If you want vinegar, you will make it out
Yeah.
of old beer. If you want
Yeah.
pasta, you will make it. There's no citrus. There's no olive oil.
Yeah.
We're using preserves, fermentation. In the winter, I learned anything and everything and more than I ever thought possible about cooking with root vegetables. Do we know the difference? How many different types of beets are there? What are the different color variations, and how does the
Wow.
sugar concentration vary between each one?
There you
Uh,
go.
what's a Formanova beet compared to a regular one is developed for canning and has a higher sugar content, and they are
Yeah.
cylindrical so they can fit in a jar.
Oh my god. Yeah, those long cylindrical beets are the best for canning.
Yeah,
They're awesome. Wow. So so the book isn't quite done. Very, very close. Yeah.
I missed my first deadline. Uh, I started with like a creative goal as opposed to like I had a template and an outline, but I really started this. First, books don't make money, so I took this
No.
on as a creative project.
Yeah.
I spent $10,000 on new camera equipment, and I've spent about $20,000 on food this year writing it. I just
Yeah.
cleared my schedule and said, I'm going to take this year and I'm going to grow interesting plants. I'm going to forage wild mushrooms, herbs, and fruit and nuts. And the whole time, all of these things that I'm picking are going to be seasoning for the main course of the book, which is a study and exploration of how meat appears in my life and what I do with it. Um, I got to November. I, my first book did well, and I had more bargaining power.
Mm.
You know, won a bunch of awards, did a bunch of cool stuff. So I have over double the image placements.
Wow.
I Yeah, I bit off way more than I could chew. And November came around and I was like, oh my God, I haven't done recipe testing. It took me 30 days working night and day to do the art log where I organize all the images in a folder and then have correlating numerical things with captions in the manuscript. It took
Yeah.
me 30 days to do that for Flora. Just double the image placements.
Wow.
What have I done? So I actually had a photographer volunteer. She's been editing my images. We're doing it collaboratively while she's in Portugal on holiday. We're just about done with that. I got the last ones back, but then the recipe testing that took a month, and I was like, there were a couple days where I was like, I don't know how I will ever do this. What have I done? And I said, at December 1st, everything has to stop.
Yeah.
And I have not left the house except to go get groceries since December 1st. It's now January 12th.
Jeez.
And I'll turn the book in on the 19th. But I was also working on it basically every day since I signed the contract last winter,
Wow.
right? So, like, people don't understand the amount of work that goes into something like this. For the return for me, it would probably take me 2 or 3 years to make back what I've put into the book already. So this is more of a creative like vision of something. I said I would do it and I will do it, and I'm going to write the book I want to read come hell or high water.
Yeah.
I'm getting close. I will turn it in on the 19th. I'm just getting to the point of editing out the copy and kind of It's hard to kill your darlings. And I'm like, I don't want to lose that
I
sausage.
love
Like,
them
I
all.
can't take that out. Oh, I got to put this other thing in. Oh, I forgot about this recipe. Like Flora was very explorational. Um, and interestingly, after that book came out, I had a lot of people ask me if they would assume I was vegan because I wrote a book on plants.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to say, like, guys, I feel bad. Like, I'm showing you sections of my life backward because before I ever picked my first nettle, I'd, been in restaurants with whole animal butchery, cooking
Yeah.
every single piece of offal that I could for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. So my knowledge here is a lot deeper. And where I shared in Flora recipes that were, a lot of them were examples of how wild plants are cooked around the world. That it was kind of outside
Hmm.
research. One of the reasons it's taken me so long to finish fauna is because these recipes, not only are they, seasonally inspired, interesting things that you can make, but they're deeply personal.
Yeah.
And many of the recipes in the headers, you will see this recipe was from a night when I was bringing ramp leaves into the restaurant, and my cooks from Ecuador they laughed at me and said, "Chef, why are you bringing food for guinea pigs, into the restaurant? We feed this to guinea pigs, and then we eat the guinea pigs for Christmas." That was another story. Uh, so then they showed me that they make them into a green mole. So there's a green mole in the book that I make with all wild plants, or a sausage that a guy from Oaxaca showed me to make, where I use 3 different cultivars of cilantro-related herbs like culantro, Vietnamese
Yeah.
coriander, and cilantro and tomatillos
So,
into this green chorizo.
so why the transition to more personal note? Because it was one of the things I did notice about your book is that like you jump all over the place. Like there's horta from Greece, and then there's like greens from Italy, and like
Yeah, that was
you
by necessity.
yeah.
So a lot of the recipes, we can't just open up a book and find a recipe for purslane. I
No.
needed to go to places where these ingredients were traditionally used,
Yeah.
and they may not have been part of my culinary tradition. Um, but with these things, many of these dishes, I mean, there's going to be pastas that I've cooked 1,000 times,
Yeah.
uh, standing against a cooler in a kitchen after service,
Yeah.
that may use a little homemade bacon. Or my favorite variation of penne arrabbiata that I ate like every day is a little bit of pancetta and some wild mushrooms.
Mm.
But now it's homemade pancetta flavored with wild herbs and whatever wild mushrooms that I have. So a lot of these recipes, I didn't have to go out and research them. It made it more difficult because
Mm.
I had to really dig deep into my files and my personal experience, years of restaurant work, uh, to find what were the best examples of things that I wanted to share. So a lot of these recipes are, if I could take them and arrange them in like a timeline from when I was a line cook to my, uh, progression to running my own kitchens, and like it's like little, blips and information points along the way that informed me, that steered my career, people that I met and their stories. My sous chef from Argentina, that's where chimichurri comes from,
Yeah.
is I learned from a guy from Argentina. Or a traditional Argentinian sausage that I show you how to make dry cured in your fridge at home, but
Mm.
it's flavored with wild bee balm instead of oregano. So it
Yeah.
is a mashup. It's But very much more personal recipes from my history,
Yeah.
as opposed to examples of how people might cook with wild plants and herbs and mushrooms and nuts from around the world.
Is it more casual food, or is it like a restaurant style that
Oh,
you're
it's,
produ
just like Flora.
Yeah.
My audience is wide and deep and
Yeah.
comprises, vegetarians, gardeners, home cooks, professional chefs, hunters, foragers. There's such a wide variety. There's a little bit of everything for people. There is one of my favorite, examples of kind of that dichotomy. There is a walkthrough of how to cook a boneless, skinless chicken breast. And then there's also instructions on my favorite way to cook testicles and a sausage that I first made from the neck of a peacock.
Yeah,
Okay.
most people don't have a favorite testicle recipe. That's a
I got
different
two.
one.
I got two.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? 2 different testicle recipes. That's interesting. I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
the
So
book.
offal is a big part of this because I cook nose to tail.
Yeah.
right? So it has one of the more robust offal sections
Mm.
that I have come across.
Well, I'm looking forward to so do you hunt yourself or,
Great question.
yeah?
And I talk about this in the book in the small game chapter. So I devoted my life to kitchens. I have an uncle who worked with Shields for many years and fly fishing to big game elk hunting, lives out in Montana.
Mm,
Those skills would have been available to me if I had chosen a different career.
yeah.
But hunting, I don't even own the bottom line is I don't even own a firearm. I have a pellet rifle,
Mm,
but my butchery skills
yeah.
are something I have no shortage of friends that hunt deer and all kinds of animals.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to cut these things up, guess who comes in
You're the
handy?
guy.
So I get invited to every deer camp as a guest of honor, and I
Yeah.
will cut things up, uh, you know, much faster than anyone else, much more precise. And I'll take my cut and go home, and I'll eat a couple 100 pounds of venison and wild game a
Mhm.
year. And I sit in a hot tub when they're out in the deer stand.
Yeah, see, that sounds like a good deal to me. It's funny you say that, though, because the way I've seen you talk about why you enjoy being outside and, foraging, it just, like, it struck me, it's how I describe why I love hunting so much. I mean, I forage and all the rest, but, like, I love being outside. I love that being in the moment, like, you're forced to be in the moment. You're forced to, like if you wanna be good or successful at finding things, you kinda have to shut up and just sort of be part of the environment, and it is really like a treasure hunt as well, and, it kinda surprises me that you haven't hit up Hank to be like, "Hey, let's go
And I
shoot some
may,
birds." Yeah,
and I may, once I get this done, I'm going to have a lot more free time. But one thing I do take myself is nuisance animals.
oh, cool.
And it's really just by necessity. So I was
Yeah,
living on a 400-acre farm while I wrote Flora, and I I had the butchery experience from restaurants,
mm,
but then I lived on a farm. It was actually an old family compound, a commune. It was an old commune from the
cool.
'60s, but the whole family moved back there. But they raised beef. There's pigs when I first got there, rabbits, chickens, and my contribution. I didn't manage the gardens. I didn't manage the animals. I was the butcher and I would cook for everyone. But sometimes we'd have problem animals in the garden. Like, oh, the geese are eutrophying the pond and they attack the dog. Like, sorry, buddy, you got to go. The woodchuck that is, terrorizing us and taking the squash plants. I'm going to escort you to your new home in the freezer, more so by necessity. And now in town, the first thing that happened when I moved back to the Twin Cities was I brought a lovage plant that I grew from seed. First thing that happened is a squirrel ripped it right out of the ground. So squirrel goes to his new home in the freezer. So that's more of like by necessity. And pigeons are another good example. And I actually shot a whole show on shooting and cooking pigeons for the Outdoor Channel with my buddy Daniel Vitalis. But I'll focus because I don't have a rifle. I'll focus on animals that are nuisance animals that don't have regulations to kind of get by that. But it's more of like, are they causing issues? Okay, now I will cook with you. I'm not like going out and be like, okay, today's woodchuck day.
So how does woodchuck taste?
Oh, it's great.
Is
It's
it?
just kind of like rabbit with dark
Okay.
meat.
Mm,
Another thing that I talk about is the difference between omnivores and herbivores. So
mm,
it's Hank's got a great article about drawing your own lines too. I don't really like to eat carnivores.
mm,
So possums. I mean, there's reasons if we look at old Southern recipes for cooking small game like possums and raccoon. What are they going to do? They don't just cut it up and eat it on the spot.
yeah,
They trap it live and they put it into a cage and they feed it persimmons and cornbread for 2 weeks.
yeah.
And then you cook it. So with a woodchuck is an herbivore. What have they been eating? They have been eating squash from the garden, little grains, pieces of corn. They probably don't need any help at all. Younger animals are going to be better, just like deer. I'll take a fat female woodchuck over a old musky male any day. But they're very good. And my woodchuck stew in the book is one of my favorite, probably my favorite thing to make with them. And you
Yeah.
can use it for all kinds of small game.
I find it really funny and, like, in the exploring different foods to eat and different plants and, you know, realizing that the hostas in my garden are edible or the purslane and bittercress and chickweed, like all these weeds that I've spent years just yanking out of my garden as, you know, a bane of my existence, and then realizing you can eat them and they're delicious and it's like free food and how exciting is this? I've kind of gone through the same thing with food too. Is like a friend of mine raises animals and went to her farm where she's got all these pigs. We went there to go get a pig, and the pig had reached through the fence, grabbed a duck and killed it and ate it. We're like, oh, she's talking about this. The pigs are on this like acorn diet and blah blah blah. All this amazing food it's eating.
Little
And you're like,
duck.
your pig just ate a duck. And she's like, oh my god, it ate another duck again. Damn it. Like, okay, okay. Well, and I've seen deer videos of deer eating rabbits too. Not common, but it's
Opportunistic.
oh yeah, if necessary, opportunistic. In the same way that like I used to say I'd never eat a carnivore, and then I had cougar, and I was like, and I'd never eat cat either, and then I had cougar, and I was like, that's one of the tastiest things I've ever eaten. It was unbelievable, and I think there's a hard line on certain things, but
Yeah,
surprises me.
dogs and cats for me.
Yeah, anything that's a pet of mine, I wouldn't, I obviously wouldn't eat, but yeah, it always surprises me the things that we don't consider food, especially in North America. We're quite squeamish about a lot of things, right? But
Yeah, one thing I really wanted to, I had it all planned out. I was going to go up to Montreal. I wanted to have a big section on horse because that is it's a touchy subject for equestrians, obviously, but around the world, I mean, it is just another meat. Cheval in France. I mean, in Japan, they cure the mane like prosciutto, and there's a lot of wild horses that just get shot from a helicopter in the Southwest, and they get trucked up to Canada and down to Mexico because they're actually gonna eat them. Um, and I think there was supposed to be a processing facility in New Mexico, but PETA got it shut down. Yeah, that didn't make it into the manuscript, but I'd really hoped to talk about some things like that. It's only so much room, right?
yeah, and like you said, there's a emotional response to eating certain animals. I do know that horse horses is one of them. There's a
Hmm.
sushi restaurant near me that has horse sashimi in it, and I've never had the guts to actually order it, but I don't know. I feel like this is inspiring me. Next time I go there, I'm gonna check it
I had
out.
some in Finland.
Yeah,
This terrific. Yeah,
yeah, sort of like tartar sort of
beefy.
thing. Yeah, hmm.
No steak.
Yeah. Well then, I gotta try it. So, so the cookbook you're working on now is meat focused. You said there's 3 in the series. The last one's going to be mushrooms. Yeah.
Yes, and that will be kind of a standalone, like separate thing.
Hmm.
Flora and fauna will be, more intertwined and more like siblings, and the mushroom book will be different. There's little. I finally, I tried to not put intentionally not put too much mushroom content into flora. In fauna, it's been so many years now because books don't make money. I had to like include some mushroom content. So
Hmm.
there's a little section all on indigenous North American truffles.
Oh, okay.
Partly because I am the owner of the first and oldest truffle inoculated orchard in Minnesota, which has yet to
Really?
produce fruit. And a lot of people, we think of truffles like, oh, they're from the Pacific Northwest, or maybe
Yeah.
they just come from Europe, we thought forever, or maybe they're in North Carolina where they've planted inoculated trees. Well, I have a number of friends in the truffle world now, and one of them, with a group of people, picked a brand new species in Wisconsin this year, and then he picked natural pecan truffles an hour west of the Twin Cities in Minnesota.
So talk me through a new species, like one no one's ever seen before, or just new for your
Yes,
area?
there's four new species in like the last 2 years have been introduced to science with a range from Kentucky north to Quebec.
And are they like
All of
cul-
commercial value
really?
potentially. Yes,
Really?
all of them, and there are more. And where people didn't think that truffles grow here, in reality, what's happening is that people just didn't go out with dogs. And
Yeah.
there could be truffles of, commercial value in every single state park in Minnesota or in Wisconsin, but we're just not going out with dogs. So they've been here
Yeah.
all along.
Very cool. And so inoculating a tree, does that have to be done when the tree's just a little seedling, or can you do it once it's established big tree, or how does that work?
I need to be careful
Okay.
here a little bit.
Yeah.
It's going to be done when they're young.
Okay. Huh.
Sorry,
Very cool.
NDAs.
Yeah, that's super cool. Wow. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, so there's a wide range of content in fauna, and I was a little more playful and creative with how I put things together.
Mm.
But a lot of it is stuff that I've never seen in a book before, and I don't know another book that is focused on meat. Where after the first recipe in the book, which is a steak that I made hundreds of times, I update it by showing you a composite image of 3 different wild greens and also the plants. There are plants in the book too, but I went out of my way to not use the same plants that I did in flora so that they are more of a complete whole and they complement each other in that way. So there's stuff that I talk about in flora that are like new species of things that I have found in fauna, new things that I've found or worked with since flora came out, or as for like ramps, like I love ramps that will be in every book. There's a whole bunch of things that didn't fit into flora or that I worked on after flora came out right at the end. And I was like, dang, I wish I could have gone into the book. So I had a lot of fun with it too.
Cool. It's one thing I did notice about your book is that it's not like cleavers and chickweed and dandelions. You go like way beyond what I've ever seen before on the ingredients. And like if you're talking about like cow parsnip, you talk about like the seed from cow parsnip. And I'm not getting confused here, am I? Like you're
No,
like you
I talk about the seed, and the seed is also it's a great plant to talk about because people have this prejudice against anything that's wild and
Yeah.
has the word parsnip in it. But you can actually buy the seeds ground into a spice on Amazon. It's called golpar. It's used in Persian cooking.
So yeah, and it's related to Angelica, is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
I grow both of them in my yard. Another big difference is now I have my own property, and I have over 100 edible species of plants in my yard on a third acre in St. Paul. So I'm not having to go out to all kinds of places. I've brought seeds. Many of the things that I worked with in flora, I've just brought all the seeds and rare plants and anything and everything that I can grow is now directly on my property.
Yeah, I've done that with wild mint, which was probably a stupid thing to do, but it's taking over at the corner of my yard. And I've tried to do it with elderberries, but I find that with wild plants sometimes like the microclimates are maybe I've there's too much variation of where I've picked them and tried to transplant them, but I haven't had much success. You've figured it out, I guess.
I just try to listen to the plants, and if they don't like an area that I put them in, I keep putting them in other areas until they die or survive.
There you go. Yeah, I just gave up on the elderberry too quick. We've got a red elderberry that grows like crazy where I live, and
Oh, the racemosa.
yeah, it's not, like to my knowledge, there's not a whole ton of use for it. It's more
No,
of
they'll
a
make you sick.
famine. Yeah, but the blue and black ones they grow in our interior where it's hotter. But I haven't been able to get one established in my yard. But I don't know. Got to keep trying, I
Yeah,
guess.
each species is like a little research project.
You're talking about burnout and burnout in the restaurant. And how do you prevent that? It sounds like it might be a little bit of a personality trait with you. You seem like you push yourself really, really hard.
I do
And
to the
it,
breaking point repeatedly.
yeah, I mean, it's tough when you're passionate about something. Like I mean, like you said, cookbooks don't make money. You're pushing yourself to do this because obviously it's important to you and it's a passion project for you. But like, how do you keep yourself from writing a book with an eye patch and a oxygen mask and earplugs again?
Well, having, like I said, having not really left the house since December 1st working on this, it's a good question because I'm kind of nearing that point. And a couple weeks ago, it was pretty hard, and I would not have wanted to talk to anyone about it at
Yeah.
that point. There's kind of like a higher purpose. I want to write the book that I want to read. I'm also a perfectionist, and I hate every recipe and image I've ever made except for the one that I'm making right now.
Yeah.
Um, it just kind of comes a time where you got to say, we're done, and you got to turn something in. And at one level, one of the most successful books is the one that gets published. But it's putting together the art log was helpful because then you can kind of see, okay, here's the images, here's how things are going to go together. Uh, you can see the pieces finally kind of come into place. Like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now, and it's really great. It's really satisfying.
Do you find like my husband is a very passionate guy, lots of ideas. We work together in business and kind of everything we do. We're partners for a lot of things. He 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 goes off on tangents and he really, really benefits from, it's called doubling. So people with ADHD really benefit from having someone basically standing beside you, helping keep you on track, just to constantly bounce ideas off of each other. Um, it's it's challenging for me, but the benefits are there. Like when we work together, it's like night and day. We can bang off a million different things. Do you work solo, or do you find you've got like a crew of people that can help keep you focused and you
No, I
know
do everything.
really?
So I did everything until I couldn't, and it was November, and I was like, there is no way. It's hard to describe the feeling of like looking into the abyss, understanding that you could work to your breaking point, 12, 13, 14 hours a day for the foreseeable future with no end in sight and not be done. And at that point, I said, okay, I could have what? How can I take something off my plate? And I found someone that could help edit the images because that was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But I do everything myself. I don't really have anyone that could help me do things day to day. I'm single. I have a cat. Like that's it. I
Yeah.
live, eat, breathe, sleep my work, everything I do, and
Yeah.
there's pluses and minuses to that, but it is much better than waking up on Sunday at 8 a.m., getting a phone call saying that the dishwasher is drunk and you have to come in and wash plates. Okay. So, in the scheme
Yeah.
of things,
Yeah.
I can sit and type in my boxers with a cat on my lap
Yeah.
and try to, rack my brain about what's the final squirrel recipe that's going to go into the book. And net, it's not a bad way to live.
It's nice to remind yourself of where you are. I get asked sometimes if I miss a kitchen environment. And there was something with like that rush of working a busy shift. It's the end of the night, like you just like you feel like you've accomplished something. There's like a beginning and an end to it, which is nice that I feel like I don't have anymore, but I don't miss the kitchen. I don't miss the chaos of it. Do you look back on that environment and ever like are there things that you miss from the kitchen?
I miss the people
Yeah.
and my coworkers. The biggest thing that I miss is probably the creativity and the creation
Mm.
of having all these resources at my disposal and writing a brand new menu every day, or taking the menu at some place where it didn't change every single day, but still making all kinds of little tweaks depending on what is coming into the season, or just taking a clipboard, walking into the cooler, writing a brand new menu, and then boom, just executing it.
Oh.
That's a special thing.
Yeah, not many restaurants, are able to do that. It's
Yeah, so I recreated that for some of the things in the book.
yeah.
Uh, One weekend, I just said I'm going to go rent a cabin, this gorgeous, huge, obnoxiously expensive cabin in the Driftless area, just for a change of pace. And instead of having a list of recipes, I just brought a cooler full of ingredients and I just cooked. I just cooked. I just sat down. I spread everything out and I wrote a menu and then I cooked. And then those recipes are in the book and I just let them make themselves.
It's so cool when you kind of push yourself out of that regular box and kind of force yourself into like a black box competition for yourself. It's what sort of bubbles up to the surface.
And then what is in the landscape too? Like the first thing I did was, let's make something. Let's make some props. So I went around and picked all the edible wildflowers I could, and then used different greens that I could find. It's like, oh, there's some grape leaves. Cool, we're making something with grape leaves, and I kind of let that inform what I was doing too. But it's great. It's a good exercise.
It is. It's funny. I was on a fishing trip with my family, and we were in this remote little cabin, no roads. It was like a fly-in. So float plane drops us off. Got pilot waves to SKC in a week. Power goes out in the cabin, so refrigerator's dead. We're like, oh shit. So walk around in the woods trying to find stuff, and it was in the mountains. So we had like just the tiniest little green on salmon berries and the odd like blueberry, huckleberry plant popping up, and it it was like, okay, I feel pretty comfortable foraging, but this is like super limited on what we can do. We started catching fish and anyways, it all worked out, but like having that, okay, my family needs to eat this week is a special kind of motivation for are we digging grubs? What are we doing here? It's been awesome chatting with you. I really look forward to your next book. And for anyone listening, pick up this book. It's awesome. I'll put links in the transcripts for people to pick it up as well to your website that we didn't really talk about, but it's awesome resource for all sorts of stuff. YouTube, anywhere else they should look to check out your stuff.
I mean, I'm on Instagram too, and all of that, everything social has been quiet for like 6 weeks. But it'll pick back up once after the 19th, after I turn it in. Like, I'm back.
Awesome.
I'm back, baby.